Act 1 of The Mikado by W.S. Gilbert. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Mikado, or The Town of Titipu, by William S. Gilbert. Music by Sir Arthur Sullivan. Dramatis Personae. The Mikado of Japan.
Read by Alan Mapstone.
Nanki-Poo, his son, disguised as a wandering minstrel and in love with Yum-Yum.
Read by Tomas
Ko-Ko, Lord High Executioner of Titipu.
Read by Russell Newton.
Pooh-Bah, Lord High Everything Else.
Read by Peter
Yearsley-Pish-Tush, a noble lord.
Read by Todd.
Three sisters wards of Ko-Ko. Yum-Yum.
Read by
AvaillePitti-Sing.
Read by Beth Thomas.
Peep-Bo.
Read by Esther and
Katisha, an elderly lady in love with Nanki-Poo.
Read by T.J. Burns.
Chorus of schoolgirls, nobles, guards, and coolies.
Read by Adele de Pignerolles.
Rachel.
Alan Mapstone.
Chuck Williamson.
Philip Gould.
First produced at the Savoy Theatre on March 14th, 1885. Act 1. Scene: Courtyard of Ko-Ko's palace in Titipu. Japanese nobles discovered standing and sitting in attitudes suggested by native drawings.
If you want to know who we are gentlemen of Japan. On many a vase and jar, on many a screen and fan, we figure in lively paint, our attitudes queer and quaint. You're wrong if you think it ain't. Oh! If you think we are worked by strings, like a Japanese marionette, you don't understand these things. It is simply court etiquette. Perhaps you suppose this throng can't keep it up all day long. If that's your idea, you're wrong. Oh!
Enter Nanki-Poo in great excitement. He carries a native guitar on his back and a bundle of ballads in his hand.
Gentlemen, I pray you tell me, where a gentle maiden dwelleth, named Yum-Yum, the ward of Ko-Ko. In pity speak, oh speak, I pray you.
Why, who are you, who ask this question?
Come gather round me, and I'll tell you. A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballads, songs, and snatches, and dreamy lullaby. My catalogue is long, through every passion ranging, and to your humours changing, I tune my supple song. Are you in sentimental mood? I'll sigh with you. Oh, sorrow, sorrow! On maiden's coldness do you brood? I'll do so too. Oh, sorrow, sorrow! I'll charm your willing ears with songs of lovers' fears, while sympathetic tears my cheeks bedew. Oh, sorrow, sorrow! But if patriotic sentiment is wanted, I've patriotic ballads cut and dried, for where'er our country's banner may be planted, all other local banners are defied. Our warriors, in serried ranks assembled, never quail, or they conceal it if they do, and I shouldn't be surprised if nations trembled before the mighty troops of Titipu.
We shouldn't be surprised if nations trembled before the mighty troops of Titipu.
And if you call for a song of the sea, we'll heave the capstan round, with a yo, heave ho, for the wind is free, her anchor's a trip, and her helm's a lee, hurrah for the homeward bound.
Yo ho, heave ho, hurrah for the homeward bound.
To lay aloft in a howling breeze may tickle a landsman's taste, for the happiest hour a sailor sees is when he's down at an inland town, with his Nancy on his knees, yo ho, and his arm around her waist.
Then man the capstan, off we go, as the fiddler swings us round, with a yo-heave-ho and a rumble-low, hurrah for the homeward bound.
A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballads, songs, and snatches, and dreamy lullaby.
Enter Pish-Tush.
And what may be your business with Yum-Yum?
I'll tell you. A year ago I was a member of the Titipu town band. It was my duty to take the cab around for contributions. While discharging this delicate office, I saw Yum-Yum. We loved each other at once, but she was betrothed to her guardian Ko-Ko, a cheap tailor, and I saw that my suit was hopeless. Overwhelmed with despair, I quitted the town. Judge of my delight when I heard, a month ago, that Ko-Ko had been condemned to death for flirting. I hurried back at once, in the hope of finding Yum-Yum at liberty to listen to my protestations.
It is true that Ko-Ko was condemned to death for flirting, but he was reprieved at the last moment, and raised to the exalted rank of Lord High Executioner, under the following remarkable circumstances. Our great Mikado, virtuous man, when he to rule our land began, resolved to try a plan whereby young men might best be steadied. So he decreed, in words succinct, that all who flirted, leered, or winked, unless connubially linked, should henceforth be beheaded. And I'll expect you'll all agree that he was right to so decree, and I am right, and you are right, and all is right as right can be.
And you are right, and we are right, and all is right as right can be.
This stern decree, you'll understand, caused great dismay throughout the land, for young and old, and shy and bold, were equally affected. The youth who winked a roving eye, or breathed the non-connubial sigh, was thereupon condemned to die. He usually objected. And you'll allow, as I expect, that he was right to so object. And I am right, and you are right, and everything is quite correct.
And you are right,
and we are right,
and everything is quite correct.
And so we straight let out on bail a convict from the county jail, whose head was next, on some pretext, condemned to be mown off. And made him headsman, for we said, who's next to be decapitated cannot cut off another's head until he's cut his own off. And we are right, I think you'll say, to argue in this kind of way, and I am right, and you are right, and all is right to Lorelei.
And you are right, and we are right, and all is right to Lorelei.
Exeunt chorus. Enter Pooh-Bah.
Ko-Ko, the cheap tailor, Lord High Executioner of Titipu? Why, that's the highest rank a citizen can attain.
It is. Our logical Mikado, seeing no moral difference between the dignified judge who condemns a criminal to die and the industrious mechanic who carries out the sentence, has rolled the two offices into one, and every judge is now his own executioner.
But how good of you, for I see that you are a nobleman of the highest rank, to condescend to tell all this to me, a mere strolling minstrel.
Don't mention it. I am, in point of fact, a particularly haughty and exclusive person of pre-Adamite ancestral descent. You will understand this when I tell you that I can trace my ancestry back to a protoplasmal primordial atomic globule. Consequently, my family pride is something inconceivable. I can't help it. I was born sneering. But I struggle hard to overcome this defect. I mortify my pride continually. When all the great officers of state resigned in a body because they were too proud to serve under an ex-tailor, did I not unhesitatingly accept all their posts at once?
And the salaries attached to them? You did.
It is consequently my degrading duty to serve this upstart as First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chief Justice, Commander-in-Chief, Lord High Admiral, Master of the Buckhounds, Groom of the Backstairs, Archbishop of Titipu, and Lord Mayor, both acting and elect, all rolled into one. And at a salary! A Pooh-Bah paid for his services. I, a salaried minion! But I do it. It revolts me, but I do it.
And it does you credit.
But I don't stop at that. I go and dine with middle-class people on reasonable terms. I dance at cheap suburban parties for a moderate fee. I accept refreshment at any hands, however lowly. I also retail state secrets at a very low figure. For instance, any further information about Yum-Yum would come under the head of a state secret.
Nanki-Poo takes his hint and gives him money. Aside.
Another insult, and, I think, a light one. Young man, despair. Likewise go to Yum-Yum the fair, you must not woo. It will not do. I'm sorry for you, you very imperfect ablutioner. This very day from school Yum-Yum will wend her way, and homeward come with beat of drum and a rum-tum-tum, to wed the Lord High Executioner. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day. She'll toddle away as all other, with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day.
She'll toddle away as all other, with the Lord High Executioner. It's a hopeless case, as you may see, and in your place away I'd flee. But don't blame me. I'm sorry to be of your pleasure a diminutioner. They'll vow their pact extremely soon, in point of fact this afternoon. Her honeymoon with that buffoon at 7 commences, so you shun her.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day.
She'll toddle away as all other, with the Lord High Executioner.
Exit Pish-Tush.
And I have journeyed for a month, or nearly, to learn that Yum-Yum, whom I love so dearly, this day to Ko-Ko is to be united.
The fact appears to be as you've recited, but here he comes equipped as suits his station. He'll give you any further information.
Exeunt Pooh-Bah and Nanki-Poo. Enter chorus of nobles.
Behold the Lord High Executioner, a personage of noble rank and title, a dignified and potent officer, whose functions are particularly vital. Defer, defer, to the Lord High Executioner.
Enter Ko-Ko attended.
Taken from the county jail by a set of curious chances, liberated then on bail on my own recognizances, wafted by a favouring gale as one sometimes is in trances, to a height that few can scale save by long and weary dances. Surely never had a male under such like circumstances so adventurous a tale, which may rank with most romances.
Defer, defer, to the Lord High Executioner.
Gentlemen, I'm much touched by this reception. I can only trust that by strict attention to duty I shall ensure a continuance of those favours which it will ever be my study to deserve. If I should ever be called upon to act professionally, I'm happy to think that there will be no difficulty in finding plenty of people whose loss will be a distinct gain to society at large. As some day it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list of society offenders who might well be underground and who never would be missed. There's the pestilential nuisances who write for autographs, all people who have flabby hands and irritating laughs, all children who are up in dates and floor you with them flat, all persons who in shaking hands shake hands with you like that, and all third persons who on spoiling tete-a-tests insist. They'd none of 'em be missed.
He's got 'em on the list. He's got 'em on the list. And they'll none of 'em be missed. They'll none of 'em be missed.
There's the banjo serenader, and the others of his race, and the piano organist. I've got him on the list. And the people who eat peppermint and puff it in your face, they never would be missed. Then the idiot who praises with enthusiastic tone all centuries but this and every country but his own. And the lady from the provinces who dresses like a guy, and who doesn't think she waltzes but would rather like to try. And that singular anomaly, the lady novelist. I don't think she'd be missed. I'm sure she'd not be missed.
He's got her on the list. He's got her on the list. And I don't think she'll be missed. I'm sure she'll not be missed.
And that nicey prius nuisance, who just now is rather rife, the judicial humorist, I've got him on the list. All funny fellows, comic mens, and clowns of private life. They'd none of 'em be missed. They'd none of 'em be missed. An apologetic statesman of a compromising kind, such as, what do you call him, Thingamabob, and likewise, never mind. And, what's his name, and also, you know who. The task of filling up the blanks I'd rather leave to you. But it really doesn't matter whom you put upon the list, for they'd none of 'em be missed. They'd none of 'em be missed.
You may put 'em on the list, you may put 'em on the list, and they'll none of 'em be missed. They'll none of 'em be missed.
Enter Pooh-Bah.
Pooh-Bah, it seems that the festivities in connection with my approaching marriage must last a week. I should like to do it handsomely, and I want to consult you as to the amount I ought to spend upon them.
Certainly. In which of my capacities? As First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chamberlain, Attorney General, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Privy Purse, or Private Secretary?
Suppose we say as Private Secretary.
Speaking as your Private Secretary, I should say that as the city will have to pay for it, don't stint yourself. Do it well.
Exactly. As the city will have to pay for it. That is your advice.
As Private Secretary. Of course, you will understand that as Chancellor of the Exchequer, I am bound to see that due economy is observed.
Oh, but you said just now, don't stint yourself, do it well.
As Private Secretary.
And now you say that due economy must be observed?
As Chancellor of the Exchequer.
I see. Come over here, where the Chancellor can't hear us.
They cross the stage.
Now, as my solicitor, how do you advise me to deal with this difficulty?
Oh, as your solicitor, I should have no hesitation in saying chance it.
Thank you.
Shaking his hand.
I will.
If it were not that as Lord Chief Justice, I am bound to see that the law isn't violated.
I see. Come over here where the Chief Justice can't hear us.
They cross the stage.
Now then, as First Lord of the Treasury?
Of course, as First Lord of the Treasury, I could propose a special vote that would cover all expenses. If it were not that as Leader of the Opposition, it would be my duty to resist it tooth and nail. Or as Paymaster General, I could so cook the accounts that, as Lord High Auditor, I should never discover the fraud. But then, as Archbishop of Titipu, it would be my duty to denounce my dishonesty, and give myself into my own custody as First Commissioner of Police.
That's extremely awkward.
I don't say that all these distinguished people couldn't be squared, but it is right to tell you that they wouldn't be sufficiently degraded in their own estimation unless they were insulted with a very considerable bribe.
The matter shall have my careful consideration. But my bride and her sisters approach, and any little compliment on your part, such as an object grovel in a characteristic Japanese attitude, would be esteemed a favor.
No money, no grovel.
Exeunt together. Enter procession of Yum-Yum schoolfellows, heralding Yum-Yum, Peep-Bo, and Pitti-Sing.
Comes a train of little ladies, from scholastic trammels free, each a little bit afraid, wondering what the world could be. Is it but a world of trouble, sadness set to song? Is its beauty but a bubble, bound to break ere long? Are its palaces and pleasures fantasies that fade, and the glory of its treasures shadow of a shade? Schoolgirls we, 18 and under, from scholastic trammels free, and we wonder, how we wonder, what on earth the world can be.
3 little maids from school are we, pert as a schoolgirl well can be, filled to the brim with girlish glee. 3 little maids from school.
Everything is a source of fun.
Nobody is safe, for we care for none.
Life is a joke that has just begun. 3 little maids from school.
Dancing.
3 little maids who, all unwary, come from a ladies' seminary, freed from its genius tutelary.
Suddenly demure.
3 little maids from school.
1 little maid is a bride yum-yum.
2 little maids in attendance come.
3 little maids is the total sum. 3 little maids from school.
From 3 little maids take 1 away.
2 little maids remain, and they
won't have to wait very long, they say.
3 little maids from school.
Dancing.
3 little maids who all unwary come from a lady's seminary, freed from its genius tutelary.
Suddenly demure.
3 little maids from school.
Enter Ko-Ko and Pooh-Bah.
At last, my bride that is to be.
About to embrace her.
You're not going to kiss me before all these people?
Well, that was the idea.
Aside to Peep-Boo.
It seems odd, doesn't it?
It's rather peculiar.
Oh, I expect it's all right. Must have a beginning, you know.
Well, of course I know nothing about these things, but I've no objection if it's usual.
Oh, it's quite usual, I think. Eh, Lord Chamberlain?
Appealing to Pooh-Bah.
I have known it done.
Ko-Ko embraces her.
Thank goodness that's over.
Sees Nanki-Poo and rushes to him.
Why, that's never you.
The 3 girls rush to him and shake his hands, all speaking at once.
Now, tell us all the news, because you go about everywhere and we've been at school, but thank goodness that's all over now and we've come home for good and we're not going back anymore.
I beg your pardon, will you present me?
Oh, this is the gentleman who used...
One at a time, if you please.
Oh, if you please, he's the gentleman who used to play so beautifully on the
Marine Parade.
Yes, I think that was the name of the instrument.
Sir, I have the misfortune to love your ward, Yum-Yum. Oh, I know I deserve your anger.
Anger? Not a bit, my boy. Why, I love her myself. Charming little girl, isn't she? Pretty eyes, nice hair. Taking little thing altogether. Very glad to hear my opinion backed by a competent authority. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
To Pish-Tush.
Take him away.
Pish-Tush removes him. Pitti-Sing, who has been examining Pooh-Bah.
I beg your pardon, but what is this? Customer come to try on?
That is a tremendous swell.
It's alive!
She starts back in alarm.
Go away, little girls. Can't talk to little girls like you. Go away, there's dears.
Allow me to present you, Pooh-Bah. These are my 3 wards. The one in the middle is my bride-elect.
What do you want me to do to them? Mind, I will not kiss them.
No, you shan't kiss them. A little bow. A mere nothing. You needn't mean it, you know.
It goes against the grain. They are not young ladies. They are young persons.
Come, make an effort. There's a good nobleman.
Aside to Ko-Ko.
Well, I shan't mean it.
With a great effort.
Howdy-do, little girls. Howdy-do.
Aside.
Oh, my protoplasmal ancestor.
That's very good.
Girls indulge in suppressed laughter.
I see nothing to laugh at. It is very painful to me to have to say, howdy-do, little girls, howdy-do to young persons. I'm not in the habit of saying howdy-do, little girls, howdy-do to anybody under the rank of a stockbroker.
Aside to girls.
Don't laugh at him. He can't help it. He's under treatment for it.
Aside to Pooh-Bah.
Never mind them. They don't understand the delicacy of your position.
We know how delicate it is, don't we?
I should think we did. How a nobleman of your importance can do it at all is a thing I never can, never shall understand.
Ko-Ko retires and goes off.
So please, sir, we much regret if we have failed in etiquette towards a man of rank so high. We shall know better by and by.
But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, so pardon us.
And don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us, if we're inclined to dance and sing, tra-la-la-la-la-la.
Dancing.
But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, so pardon us.
And don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us, if we're inclined to dance and sing, tra-la-la-la-la-la.
I think you ought to recollect you cannot show too much respect towards the highly titled few. But nobody does, and why should you? That youth at us should have its fling is hard on us. To our prerogative we cling. So pardon us, if we decline to dance and sing. Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, tra-la-la.
Dancing.
But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, and don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us, if we're inclined to dance and sing, tra-la-la-la-la.
Exeunt all but Yum-Yum. Enter Nanki-Poo.
Yum-Yum, at last we are alone. I have sought you night and day for 3 weeks, in the belief that your guardian was beheaded, and I find that you are about to be married to him this afternoon.
Alas, yes.
But you do not love him.
Alas, no.
Modified rapture. But why do you not refuse him?
What good would that do? He's my guardian, and he wouldn't let me marry you.
But I would wait until you were of age.
You forget that in Japan girls do not arrive at years of discretion until they are 50.
True. From 17 to 49 are considered years of indiscretion.
Besides, a wandering minstrel who plays a wind instrument outside tea-houses is hardly a fitting husband for the ward of a Lord High Executioner.
But...
Aside.
Shall I tell her? Yes, she will not betray me.
Aloud.
What if it should prove that, after all, I am no musician?
There. I was certain of it directly I heard you play.
What if it should prove that I am no other than the son of His Majesty the Mikado?
The son of the Mikado? But why is your Highness disguised? And what has your Highness done? And will your Highness promise never to do it again?
Some years ago I had the misfortune to captivate Katisha, an elderly lady of my father's court. She misconstrued my customary affability into expressions of affection, and claimed me in marriage under my father's law. My father, the Lucius Junius Brutus of his race, ordered me to marry her within a week or perish ignominiously on the scaffold. That night I fled his court, and assuming the disguise of a second trombone, I joined the band in which you found me when I had the happiness of seeing you.
Approaching her. Yum-Yum retreating.
If you please, I think your Highness had better not come too near. The laws against flirting are excessively severe.
But we are quite alone, and nobody can see us.
Still, that don't make it right. To flirt is capital.
It is capital.
And we must obey the law.
Deuce take the law.
I wish it would, but it won't.
If it were not for that, how happy we might be.
Happy indeed.
If it were not for the law, we should now be sitting side by side, like that.
Sits by her.
Instead of being obliged to sit half a mile off, like that.
Crosses and sits at the other side of stage.
We should be gazing into each other's eyes, like that.
Gazing at her sentimentally.
Breathing sighs of unutterable love, like that.
Sighing and gazing lovingly at him.
With our arms round each other's waists, like that.
Embracing her.
Yes, if it wasn't for the law.
If it wasn't for the law.
As it is, of course we couldn't do anything of the kind.
Not for worlds.
Being engaged to Ko-Ko, you know.
Being engaged to Ko-Ko. Were you not to Ko-Ko plighted, I would say in tender tone, loved one, let us be united, let us be each other's own. I would merge all rank and station, worldly sneers are not to us, and, to mark my admiration, I would kiss you fondly thus.
He would kiss me fondly thus. But as I am engaged to Ko-Ko, to embrace you thus con fuoco would distinctly be no guoco, and for yam I should get toko.
Toko, 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 toko. So, in spite of all temptation, such a theme I'll not discuss, and on no consideration will I kiss you fondly thus. Let me make it clear to you, this is what I'll never do. This, oh this, oh this, oh this. This, oh this, oh this, oh this.
Exeunt in opposite directions. Enter Ko-Ko, looking after Yum-Yum.
There she goes. To think how entirely my future happiness is wrapped up in that little parcel. Really, it hardly seems worthwhile. Oh, matrimony.
Enter Pooh-Bah and Pish-Tush.
Now then, what is it? Can't you see I'm soliloquizing? You have interrupted an apostrophe, sir.
I am the bearer of a letter from His Majesty the Mikado.
taking it from him reverentially.
A letter from the Mikado? What in the world can he have to say to me?
Reads letter.
Ah, here it is at last. I thought it would come sooner or later. The Mikado is struck by the fact that no executions have taken place in Titipu for a year, and decrees that unless somebody is beheaded within 1 month, the post of Lord High Executioner shall be abolished, and the city reduced to the rank of a village.
But that will involve us all in irretrievable ruin.
Yes, there is no help for it. I shall have to execute somebody at once. The only question is, who shall it be?
Well, it seems unkind to say so, but as you're already under sentence of death for flirting, everything seems to point to you.
To me? What are you talking about? I can't execute myself.
Why not?
Why not? Because, in the first place, self-decapitation is an extremely difficult, not to say dangerous thing to attempt. And in the second, it's suicide. And suicide is a capital offense.
That is so, no doubt.
We might reserve the point.
True. It could be argued 6 months hence, before the full court.
Besides, I don't see how a man can cut off his own head.
A man might try.
Even if you only succeeded in cutting it half off, that would be something.
It would be taken as an earnest of your desire to comply with the imperial will.
No, pardon me, but there I am adamant. As official headsman, my reputation is at stake, and I can't consent to embark on a professional operation unless I see my way to a successful result.
This professional conscientiousness is highly creditable to you, but it places us in a very awkward position.
My good sir, the awkwardness of your position is grace itself, compared with that of a man engaged in the act of cutting off his own head.
I am afraid that unless you can obtain a substitute...
A substitute? Oh, certainly. Nothing easier.
To Pooh-Bah.
Pooh-Bah, I appoint you Lord High Substitute.
I should be delighted. Such an appointment would realize my fondest dreams. But no, at any sacrifice I must set bounds to my insatiable ambition.
My brain it teems with endless schemes, both good and new, for Titipu. But if I flit the benefit that I diffuse, the town would lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
I am so proud. If I allowed my family pride to be my guide, I'd volunteer to quit this sphere instead of you, in a minute or two. But family pride must be denied and set aside and mortified.
I heard one day a gentleman say that criminals who are cut in two can hardly feel the fatal steel, and so are slain without much pain. If this is true, it's jolly for you. Your courage grew to bid us adieu.
And so, I wish to go, and greatly pine to brightly shine, and take the line of a hero fine. With grief condign, I must decline. I must decline.
How much you dare, I'm quite aware, it's your affair. Yet I declare, I'd take your share, but I don't much care. I don't much care.
Yet recollect 'twere disrespect. Deny neglect to such effect this aim direct? So I object.
I don't much care.
To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block.
Exeunt Pooh-Bah and Pish-Tush.
This is simply appalling. I, who allowed myself to be respited at the last moment, simply in order to benefit my native town, am now required to die within a month, and that by a man whom I have loaded with honors? Is this public gratitude? Is this—
Enter Nanki-Poo with a rope in his hands.
Go away, sir. How dare you? Am I never to be permitted to soliloquize?
Oh, go on. Don't mind me.
What are you going to do with that rope?
I am about to terminate an unendurable existence.
Terminate your existence? Oh, nonsense. What for?
Because you are going to marry the girl I adore.
Nonsense, sir. I won't permit it. I'm a humane man, and if you attempt anything of the kind, I shall order your instant arrest. Come, sir, desist at once, or I summon my guard."
That's absurd. If you attempt to raise an alarm, I instantly perform the happy dispatch with this dagger.
No, don't do that. This is horrible.
Suddenly.
Why, you cold-blooded scoundrel, are you aware that in taking your life, you're committing a crime which is... Oh!
Struck by an idea.
Substitute!
What's the matter?
Is it absolutely certain that you're resolved to die?
Absolutely.
Will nothing shake your resolution?
Nothing.
Threats, entreaties, prayers, all useless?
All. My mind is made up.
Then, if you really mean what you say, and if you're absolutely resolved to die, and if nothing whatever will shake your determination, don't spoil yourself by committing suicide, but be beheaded, handsomely, at the hands of the public executioner.
I don't see how that would benefit me.
You don't? Observe. You'll have a month to live, and you'll live like a fighting cock at my expense. When the day comes, there'll be a grand public ceremonial. You'll be the central figure. No one will attempt to deprive you of that distinction. There'll be a procession, bands, dead march, bells tolling, all the girls in tears, Yum-Yum distracted. Then, when it's all over, general rejoicings, and a display of fireworks in the evening. You won't see them, but they'll be there all the same.
Do you think Yum-Yum would really be distracted at my death?
I am convinced of it. Bless you, she's the most tender-hearted little creature alive.
I should be sorry to cause her pain. Perhaps, after all, if I were to withdraw from Japan and travel in Europe for a couple of years, I might contrive to forget her.
Oh, I don't think you could forget Yum-Yum so easily. And after all, what is more miserable than a love-blighted life?
True.
Life without Yum-Yum? Why, it seems absurd.
And yet there are a good many people in the world who have to endure it.
Poor devils, yes. You're quite right not to be of their number.
Suddenly.
I won't be of their number.
Noble fellow.
I'll tell you how we'll manage it. Let me marry Yum-Yum tomorrow, and in a month you may behead me.
No. I draw the line at Yum-Yum.
Very good. If you can draw the line, so can I.
Preparing rope.
Stop. Listen, one moment. Be reasonable. How can I consent to your marrying Yum-Yum if I'm going to marry her myself?
My good friend, she'll be a widow in a month, and you can marry her then.
That's true, of course, I quite see that. But, dear me, my position during the next month will be most unpleasant. Most unpleasant.
Not half so unpleasant as my position at the end of it.
But, dear me, well, I agree. After all, it's only putting off my wedding for a month. But you won't prejudice her against me, will you? You see, I've educated her to be my wife. She's been taught to regard me as a wise and good man. Now, I shouldn't like her views on that point disturbed.
Trust me, she shall never learn the truth from me.
Enter Chorus, Pooh-Bah, and Pish-Tush.
With aspect stern and gloomy stride, we come to learn how you decide. Don't hesitate your choice to name, a dreadful fate you'll suffer all the same.
To ask you what you mean to do, we punctually appear.
Congratulate me, gentlemen. I've found a volunteer.
The Japanese equivalent for here.
Presenting him.
'Tis Nanki-Poo.
Hail, Nanki-Poo!
I think he'll do?
Yes, he'll do.
He yields his life if I'll Yum-Yum surrender. Now I adore that girl with passion tender, and could not yield her with a ready will, or her a lot, if I did not adore myself with passion tenderer still.
Ah, yes, he loves himself with passion tenderer still.
To Nanki-Poo.
Take her, she's yours.
Exit Ko-Ko.
The threatened cloud has passed away,
and brightly shines the dawning day.
What though the night may come too soon?
There's yet a month of afternoon.
Then let the throng our joy advance, with laughing song and merry dance.
With joyous shout and ringing cheer, inaugurate our brief career.
A day, a week, a month, a year.
Or far or near, or far or near.
Life's eventime comes much too soon.
You'll live at least a honeymoon.
Then let the throng our joy advance, with laughing song and merry dance.
With joyous shout and ringing cheer, inaugurate our brief career.
As in a month you've got to die, if Ko-Ko tells us true, 'twere empty compliment to cry, long life to Nanki-Poo, but as 1 month you have to live, as fellow citizen, this toast with 3 times 3 we'll give, long life to you, till then.
Exit Pooh-Bah.
May all good fortune prosper you. May you have health and riches too. May you succeed in all you do. Long life to you, till then.
Dance. Enter Katisha melodramatically.
Your revels cease. Assist me, all of you.
Why, who is this whose evil eyes rain blight on our festivities?
I claim my perjured lover, Nanki-Poo. Oh, fool, to shun delights that never cloy.
Go, leave thy deadly work undone.
Come back, oh shallow fool, come back to joy.
Away, away, ill-favored one.
Aside to Yum-Yum.
Ah, 'tis Katisha, the maid of whom I told you.
About to go. Katisha, detaining him.
No, you shall not go. These arms shall thus enfold you.
Addressing Nanki-Poo.
O fool that fleest my hallowed joys! O blind that seest no equipoise! O rash that judgest from half the whole! O base that grudgest love's lightest dole! Thy heart unbind, O fool, O blind! Give me my place, O rash, O base!
If she's thy bride, restore her place, O fool, O blind, O rash, O base.
Addressing Yum-Yum.
Pink cheek that rulest where wisdom serves, bright eye that foolest heroic nerves, rose lip that scornest lore-laden years, smooth tongue that warnest who rightly hears. Thy doom is nigh, pink cheek, bright eye. Thy knell is rung, rose lip, smooth tongue.
If true her tale, thy knell is rung, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lip, smooth tongue.
Away, nor prosecute your quest. From our intention well expressed, you cannot turn us. The state of your connubial views towards the person you accuse does not concern us, for he's going to marry Yum-Yum.
Yum-Yum.
Your anger pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come.
And join our expressions of glee. On this subject I pray you be dumb.
Dum.
You'll find there are many who'll wed for a penny. The word for your guidance is mum.
Mum.
There's lots of good fish in the sea.
On this subject I pray you be dumb. You'll find there are many who'll wed for a penny. The word for your guidance is mum. There's lots of good fish in the sea.
The hour of gladness is dead and gone. In silent sadness I live alone. The hope I cherished all lifeless lies, and all has perished, save love which never dies. O faithless one, this insult you shall rue. In vain for mercy on your knees you'll sue. I'll tear the mask from your disguising.
Aside.
Now comes the blow.
Prepare yourselves for news surprising.
Aside.
How foil my foe?
No minstrel he, despite bravado.
Aside. Struck by an idea.
Ha! I know.
He is the son of your...
Nanki-Poo, Yum-Yum in chorus, interrupting, sing Japanese words to drown her voice.
O ni bikuri shakuri to.
In vain you interrupt with this tornado. He is the only son of your...
O ni bikuri shakuri to.
I'll spoil...
O ni bikuri shakuri
your
to.
gay gambado. He is the son...
O ni bikuri shakuri to.
of your...
O ni bikuri shakuri to.
The son of your...
O ni bikuri shakuri to. Oya, oya.
Ye torrents roar, ye tempest howl, your wrath outpour with angry growl.
We'll hear no more, ill-omened owl, to join we soar despite your scowl.
Do ye, you worst, my vengeance call, shall rise triumphant over all.
The echoes of our festival call shall rise triumphant over all.
Prepare for woe, ye haughty lords. At once I go, Mikado wards.
Away you go, collect your hordes, proclaim your woe in dismal chords. We do not heed their dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere around.
My wrongs with vengeance shall be crowned. My wrongs with vengeance shall be crowned.
Katisha rushes furiously upstage, clearing the crowd away right and left, finishing on steps at the back of stage. End of Act 1. Act 2 of The Mikado by W.S. Gilbert. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2. Scene: Coco's garden. YearsleyPish-Tush discovered seated at her bridal toilet, surrounded by maidens who are dressing her hair and painting her face and lips, as she judges of the effect in a mirror.
Braid the raven hair, weave the supple tress, deck the maiden fair in her loveliness, paint the pretty face, dye the coral lip, emphasize the grace of her ladyship. Art and nature thus allied go to make a pretty bride. Sit with downcast eye, let it brim with dew. Try if you can cry, we will do so too. When you're summoned, start like a frightened roe. Flutter, little heart, colour, come and go. Modesty at marriage tide well becomes a pretty bride. Braid the raven hair, weave the supple tress, deck the maiden fair in her loveliness, paint the pretty face, dye the coral lip, emphasize the grace of her ladyship. Art and nature thus allied go to make a pretty bride.
Exeunt Pitti-Sing, Peep-Boo, and Chorus.
Yes, I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder, in my artless Japanese way, why it is that I am so much more attractive than anybody else in the whole world. Can this be vanity? No. Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature and take after my mother. The sun, whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory, does not deny his majesty. He scorns to tell a story. He don't exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent, but fierce and bold in fiery gold he glories effulgent. I mean to rule the earth, as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I. Observe his flame, that placid dame, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She borrows light, that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And, truth to tell, she lights up well, so I, for one, don't blame her. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I.
Enter Pitti-Sing and Peep-Boo.
Yes, everything seems to smile upon me. I am to be married today to the man I love best, and I believe I am the very happiest girl in Japan.
The happiest girl indeed, for she is indeed to be envied who has attained happiness in all but perfection.
In all but perfection?
Well, dear, it can't be denied that the fact that your husband is to be beheaded in a month is, in its way, a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, you know.
I don't know about that. It all depends.
At all events, he will find it a drawback.
Not necessarily. Bless you, it all depends.
YearsleyPish-Tush in tears.
I think it is very indelicate of you to refer to such a subject on such a day. If my married happiness is to be...
Cut short.
Well, cut short in a month. Can't you let me forget it?
Weeping. Enter Nanki-Poo, followed by Go-To.
Yum-Yum in tears, and on her wedding morn.
Yum-Yum, sobbing.
They've been reminding me that in a month you are to be beheaded. Oh.
Bursts into tears.
Yes, we've been reminding her that you're to be beheaded.
Bursts into tears.
It's quite true, you know. You are to be beheaded.
Bursts into tears. Nanki-Poo, aside.
Now, some bridegrooms would be depressed by this sort of thing.
Aloud.
A month? Well, what's a month? These divisions of time are purely arbitrary. Who says 24 hours make a day?
There's a popular impression to that effect.
Then we'll efface it. We'll call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, and each day a year. At that rate, we've about 30 years of married happiness before us.
At that rate, this interview has already lasted 4 hours and 3/4.
Exit Peep-Boo. Yum-Yum, still sobbing.
Yes. How time flies when one is thoroughly enjoying oneself.
That's the way to look at it. Don't let's be downhearted. There's a silver lining to every cloud.
Certainly. Let's be perfectly happy.
Almost in tears.
By all means, let's thoroughly enjoy ourselves.
It's absurd to cry.
Trying to force a laugh.
Quite ridiculous.
Trying to laugh. All break into a forced and melancholy laugh.
Brightly dawns our wedding day. Joyous hour we give thee greeting. Whither art thou fleeting? Fickle moment, prithee stay. What though mortal joys be hollow? Pleasures come if sorrows follow. Though the tocsin sound ere long. Ding dong, ding dong. Yet until the shadows fall over one and over all, sing a merry madrigal, a madrigal. Fa-la, fa-la.
Ending in tears.
Let us dry the ready tear, though the hours are surely creeping. Little need for woeful weeping, till the sad sundown is near. All must sip the cup of sorrow, I today and thou tomorrow. This the close of every song. Ding dong, ding dong. What though solemn shadows fall, sooner, later, over all? Sing a merry madrigal, a madrigal. Fa-la, 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 fa-la.
Ending in tears. Exeunt Pitti-Sing and Pish-Tush. Nanki-Poo embraces Yum-Yum. Enter Ko-Ko. Nanki-Poo releases Yum-Yum.
Go on. Don't mind me.
I'm afraid we're distressing you.
Never mind. I must get used to it. Only, please, do it by degrees. Begin by putting your arm round her waist.
Nanki-Poo does so.
There. Let me get used to that first.
Oh, wouldn't you like to retire? It must pain you to see us so affectionate together.
No, I must learn to bear it. Now, oblige me by allowing her head to rest on your shoulder.
Like that?
He does so. Ko-Ko much affected.
I am much obliged to you. Now, kiss her.
He does so. Ko-Ko writhes with anguish.
Thank you. It's simple torture.
Come, bear up. After all, it's only for a month.
No, it's no use deluding oneself with false hopes.
What do you mean?
To Yum-Yum.
My child, my poor child.
Aside.
How shall I break it to her?
Aloud.
My little bride that was to have been?
Delighted.
Was to have been?
Yes. You can never be mine.
Simultaneously, in ecstasy.
What? I'm so glad.
I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
Buried alive?
Buried alive. It's a most unpleasant death.
But whom did you get that from?
Oh, from Pooh-Bah. He's my solicitor.
But he may be mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord Chief Justice, the Master of the Rolls, the Judge Ordinary, and the Lord Chancellor. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life.
But stop a bit. This law has never been put in force.
Not yet. You see, flirting is the only crime punishable with decapitation, and married men never flirt.
Of course they don't. I quite forgot that. Well, I suppose I may take it that my dream of happiness is at an end.
Darling, I don't want to appear selfish, and I love you with all my heart. I don't suppose I shall ever love anybody else half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, my own, I had no idea, Pet, that I should have to be buried alive in a month.
Nor I. It's the very first I've heard of it.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see, burial alive, it's such a stuffy death.
I call it a beast of a death.
You see my difficulty, don't you?
Yes, and I see my own. If I insist on your carrying out your promise, I doom you to a hideous death. If I release you, you marry Ko-Ko at once.
Here's a howdy-do. If I marry you when your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do.
Here's a pretty mess. In a month or less I must die without a wedding. Let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess.
Here's a state of things, to her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion. Burial it brings. Here's a state of things. With a passion that's intense you worship and adore, but the laws of common sense we oughtn't to ignore. If what I say is true, 'tis death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do.
Exit Yum-Yum. Ko-Ko, going up to Nanki-Poo.
My poor boy, I'm really very sorry for you.
Thanks, old fellow. I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
I quite see that.
I can't conceive anything more distressing than to have one's marriage broken off at the last moment. But you shan't be disappointed of a wedding. You shall come to mine.
It's awfully kind of you, but that's impossible.
Why so?
Today I die.
What do you mean?
I can't live without Yum-Yum. This afternoon I perform the happy dispatch.
No, pardon me. I can't allow that.
Why not?
Why, hang it all, you're under contract to die by the hand of the public executioner in a month's time. If you kill yourself, what's to become of me? Why, I shall have to be executed in your place.
It would certainly seem so.
Enter Pooh-Bah.
Now then, Lord Mayor, what is it?
The Mikado and his suite are approaching the city, and will be here in 10 minutes.
The Mikado? He's coming to see whether his orders have been carried out.
To Nanki-Poo.
Now, look here, this is getting serious. A bargain's a bargain, and you really mustn't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honor and a gentleman, you're bound to die ignominiously by the hands of the public executioner.
Very well, then, behead me.
What, now?
Certainly, at once.
Chop it off! Chop it off!
My good sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. Why, I never even killed a bluebottle.
Still, as Lord High Executioner...
My good sir, as Lord High Executioner, I've got to behead him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I don't know how it's done. I'm going to take lessons. I mean to begin with the guinea pig and work my way through the animal kingdom till I come to a second trombone. Why, you don't suppose that as a humane man, I'd have accepted the post of Lord High Executioner if I hadn't thought the duties were purely nominal? I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody.
Weeps.
Come, my poor fellow. We all have unpleasant duties to discharge at times. After all, what is it? If I don't mind, why should you? Remember, sooner or later it must be done.
Ko-Ko, springing up suddenly.
Must it? I'm not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I kill you, when making an affidavit that you've been executed will do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses. The Lord Chief Justice, the Lord High Admiral, Commander-in-Chief, Secretary of State for the Home Department, First Lord of the Treasury, and Chief Commissioner of Police.
But where are they?
There they are. They'll all swear to it.
To Pooh-Bah.
Won't you?
Am I to understand that all of us high officers of state are required to perjure ourselves to ensure your safety?
Why not? You'll be grossly insulted, as usual.
Will the insult be cashed down or at a date?
It will be a ready money transaction.
Pooh-Bah, aside.
Well, it will be a useful discipline.
Aloud.
Very good. Choose your fiction and I'll endorse it.
Aside.
Ha ha! Family pride, how do you like that, my buck?
But I tell you that life without Yum-Yum...
Oh, Yum-Yum, Yum-Yum, bother Yum-Yum. Here, Commissionaire.
To Pooh-Bah.
Go and fetch Yum-Yum.
Exit Pooh-Bah.
Take Yum-Yum and marry Yum-Yum. Only go away and never come back again.
Enter Pooh-Bah with Yum-Yum.
Here she is. Yum-Yum, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You've got 5 minutes to spare?
Yes?
Then go along with His Grace the Archbishop of Titipu. He'll marry you at once.
But if I'm to be buried alive...
Now, don't ask any questions, but do as I tell you, and Nanki-Poo will explain all.
But one moment.
Not for worlds. Here comes the Mikado, no doubt to ascertain whether I've obeyed his decree, and if he finds you alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I've beheaded you.
Exeunt Nanki-Poo and Yum-Yum, followed by Pooh-Bah.
Close thing, that. Here he comes.
Exit Ko-Ko. March. Enter procession heralding Mikado with Katisha. Entrance of Mikado and Katisha.
Miya-sama, onna no mae ni, pira suro noa nanja na, toko tan yare na.
From every kind of man obedience I expect. I'm the Emperor of Japan.
And I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He'll marry his son, he's only got one, to his daughter-in-law elect.
My morals have been declared particularly correct.
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
In a fatherly kind of way I govern each tribe and sect. All cheerfully own my sway.
Except his daughter-in-law elect. As tough as a bone, with a will of her own, is his daughter-in-law elect.
My nature is love and light, my freedom from all defect.
Is insignificant quite, compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
A more humane Mikado never did in Japan exist. To nobody's second I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavour to make to some extent each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, All prosy, dull society sinners who chatter and bleat and bore are sent to hear sermons from mystical Germans who preach from 10 till 4. The amateur tenor whose vocal villainies all desire to shirk shall during off hours exhibit his powers to Madame Tussaud's waxwork. The lady who dyes a chemical yellow or stains her grey hair puce or pinches her figure is painted with vigour with permanent walnut juice. The idiot who in railway carriages scribbles on window panes, we only suffer to ride on a buffer in parliamentary trains. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
The advertising quack who wearies with tales of countless cures, his teeth I've enacted shall all be extracted by terrified amateurs. The musical singer attends a series of masses and fugues and ops, by Bach interwoven with Spohr and Beethoven at classical Monday pops. The billiard sharp who anyone catches his doom's extremely hard, he's made to dwell in a dungeon cell on a spot that's always barred, and there he plays extravagant matches in fitless finger stools, on a cloth untrue, with a twisted cue, and elliptical billiardables. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
Enter Pooh-Bah, Koko, and Pitti-Sing. All kneel. Pooh-Bah hands a paper to Koko.
I am honored in being permitted to welcome your majesty. I guess the object of your majesty's visit, your wishes, have been attended to. The execution has taken place.
Oh, you've had an execution, have you?
Yes. The coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
Koko hands certificate to Mikado.
And this is the certificate of his death.
Reads.
At Titipu, in the presence of the Lord Chancellor, Lord Chief Justice, Attorney General, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Lord Mayor, and groom of the second floor front.
They were all present, your majesty. I counted them myself.
Very good house. I wish I'd been in time for the performance.
A tough fellow he was, too. A man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It was a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his little pigtail, and on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and guggled, I drew my snickersnee. Oh, never shall I forget the cry, or the shriek that shrieked he, as I gnashed my teeth, when from its sheath I drew my snickersnee.
We know him well, we cannot tell untrue or groundless tales. He always tries to utter lies, and every time fails.
He shivered and shook as he gave the sign for the stroke he didn't deserve, when all of a sudden his eye met mine, and it seemed to brace his nerve. For he nodded his head and kissed his hand, and he whistled an air, did he, as the sabre true cut cleanly through his cervical vertebrae. When a man's afraid, a beautiful maid is a cheering sight to see. And it's oh, I'm glad that moment sad was soothed by sight of me.
Her terrible tale you can't assail, with truth it quite grieves. Her taste exact for faultless fact amounts to a disease.
Now, though you'd have said that head was dead, for its owner dead was he, it stood on its neck with a smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent off-hand nods, but as humble as could be, for it clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree. And its I vow this deathly bow was a touching sight to see, though trunkless, yet it couldn't forget the deference due to me.
This haughty youth, he speaks the truth whenever he finds it pays, and in this case it all took place exactly as he says.
Exeunt Chorus.
All this is very interesting, and I should like to have seen it. But we came here about a totally different matter. A year ago, my son, the heir to the throne of Japan, bolted from our imperial court.
Indeed. Had he any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him. Yet he fled.
I am surprised that he should have fled from one so lovely.
That's not true.
No.
You hold that I am not beautiful because my face is plain. But you know nothing. You are still unenlightened. Learn, then, that it is not in the face alone that beauty is to be sought. My face is unattractive.
It is.
But I have a left shoulder blade that is a miracle of loveliness. People come miles to see it. My right elbow has a fascination that few can resist.
Allow me.
It is on view Tuesdays and Fridays, on presentation of visiting card. As for my circulation, it is the largest in the world.
And yet he fled.
And is now masquerading in this town, disguised as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
Yes. Would it be troubling you too much if I asked you to produce him? He goes by the name of...
Nanki-Poo.
Nanki-Poo.
It's quite easy. That is, it's rather difficult. In point of fact, he's gone abroad.
Gone abroad? His address?
Knightsbridge.
Katisha, who is reading Certificate of Death.
Ha!
What's the matter?
See here. His name, Nanki-Poo. Beheaded this morning. Oh, where shall I find another? Where shall I find another?
Ko-Ko, Pooh-Bah, and Pitti-Sing fall on their knees, looking at paper.
Dear, 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 this is very tiresome.
To Ko-Ko.
My poor fellow, in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir to the throne of Japan.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology.
I desire to associate myself with that expression of regret.
We really hadn't the least notion.
Of course you hadn't. How could you? Come, come, my good fellow, don't distress yourself. It was no fault of yours. If a man of exalted rank chooses to disguise himself as a second trombone, he must take the consequences. It really distresses me to see you take on so. I've no doubt he thoroughly deserved all he got.
They rise.
We are infinitely obliged to your majesty.
Much obliged, your majesty.
Very much obliged, your majesty.
Obliged? Not a bit. Don't mention it. How could you tell?
No, of course we couldn't tell who the gentleman really was.
It wasn't written on his forehead, you know.
It might have been on his pocket handkerchief, but Japanese don't use pocket handkerchiefs.
Ha ha ha!
To Katisha.
I forget the punishment for compassing the death of the heir apparent.
Punishment? They drop down on their knees again.
Yes, something lingering with boiling oil in it, I fancy. Something of that sort. I think boiling oil occurs in it, but I'm not sure. I know it's something humorous, but lingering, with either boiling oil or melted lead. Come, don't fret. I'm not a bit angry.
In abject terror.
If your majesty will accept our assurance, we had no idea.
Of course.
I knew nothing about it.
I wasn't there.
That's the pathetic part of it. Unfortunately, the fool of an act says compassing the death of the heir apparent. There's not a word about a mistake.
No.
Or not knowing.
No.
Or having no notion.
No.
Or not being there.
No.
There should be, of course.
Yes.
But there isn't.
Oh.
That's the slovenly way in which these acts are always drawn. However, cheer up, it'll be all right. I'll have it ordered at the next session. Now let's see about your execution. Will after luncheon suit you? Can you wait till then?
Oh, yes. We can wait till then.
Then we'll make it after luncheon.
I don't want any lunch.
I'm really very sorry for you all, but it's an unjust world, and virtue is triumphant only in theatrical performances. See how the fates their gifts allot, for A is happy, B is not, yet B is worthy, I dare say, of more prosperity than A.
Is B more worthy? I should say, he's worth a great deal more than A.
Yet A is happy. Oh, so happy. Laughing, ha-ha, chaffing, ha-ha, nectar quaffing, ha-ha-ha. Ever joyous, ever gay, happy, undeserving A. If I were fortune, which I'm not, B should enjoy A's happy lot, and A should die in misery. That is, assuming I am B.
But should A perish?
That should be, of course, assuming I am B. B should be happy. Oh, so happy. Laughing, ha-ha, chaffing, ha-ha, nectar quaffing, ha-ha-ha. But condemned to die is he, wretched, meritorious B.
Exeunt Mikado and Katisha.
Well, a nice mess you've gotten us into with your nodding head and the deference due to a man of pedigree.
Merely corroborative detail, intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise bald and unconvincing narrative.
Corroborative detail indeed. Corroborative fiddlesticks.
And you're just as bad as he is with your cock and bull stories about catching his eye and his whistling an air. But that's so like you. You must put in your oar.
But how about your big right arm?
Yes, and your snicker-snee.
Well, never mind that now. There's only one thing to be done. Nanki-Poo hasn't started yet. He must come to life again at once.
Enter Nanki-Poo and Yum-Yum, prepared for journey.
Here he comes. Here, Nanki-Poo. I've got good news for you. You're reprieved.
Oh, but it's too late. I'm a dead man, and I'm off for my honeymoon.
Nonsense. A terrible thing has just happened. It seems you're the son of the Mikado.
Yes, but that happened some time ago.
Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here, and with Katisha.
My father? And with Katisha?
Yes, he wants you particularly.
So does she.
Oh, but he's married now.
But bless my heart, what has that to do with it?
Katisha claims me in marriage, but I can't marry her because I'm married already. Consequently, she will insist on my execution, and if I'm executed, my wife will have to be buried alive.
You see our difficulty?
Yes, I don't know what's to be done.
There's one chance for you. If you could persuade Katisha to marry you, she would have no further claim on me, and in that case I could come to life without any fear of being put to death.
I marry Katisha?
I really think it's the only course.
But, my good girl, have you seen her? She's something appalling.
Ah, that's only her face. She has a left elbow, which people come miles to see.
I am told that her right heel is much admired by connoisseurs.
My good sir, I decline to pin my heart upon any lady's right heel.
It comes to this. While Katisha is single, I prefer to be a disembodied spirit. When Katisha is married, existence will be as welcome as the flowers in spring. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, breathe promise of merry sunshine. As we merrily dance and we sing, tra-la, we welcome the hope that they bring, tra-la, of a summer of roses and wine. And that's what we mean when we say that a thing is welcome as flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la,
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, have nothing to do with the case. I've got to take under my wing, tra-la, a most unattractive old thing, tra-la, with a caricature of a face. And that's what I mean when I say, or I sing, oh bother the flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Dance the next sound Nanki-Poo, Yum-Yum, Pooh-Bah, Pitti-Sing, and Ko-Ko. Enter Katisha.
Alone, and yet alive. O sepulchre, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Remote the peace that death alone can give. My doom to wait, my punishment to live. Hearts do not break, they sting and ache for old love's sake, but do not die, though with each breath they long for death, as witnesseth the living eye. O living eye, come tell me why, when hope is gone, dost thou stay on? Why linger here, where all is drear? O living eye, come tell me why, when hope is gone, dost thou stay on? May not a cheated maiden die?
Ko-Ko, entering and approaching her timidly.
Katisha?
The miscreant who robbed me of my love. But vengeance pursues. They are heating the cauldron.
Katisha, behold, a suppliant at your feet. Katisha, mercy.
Mercy? Had you mercy on him? See here, you have slain my love. He did not love me, but he would have loved me in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. Well, he is dead, and where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Am I to go through the weary round again, and at the same time implore mercy for you who robbed me of my prey? I mean my pupil, just as his education was on the point of completion. Oh, where shall I find another?
Suddenly, and with great vehemence.
Here! Here!
What?
With intense passion.
Katisha, for years I have loved you with a white-hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Ah, shrink not from me. If there is aught of a woman's mercy in your heart, turn not away from a love-sick suppliant whose every fibre thrills at your tiniest touch. True it is that, under a poor mask of disgust, I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fire will not be smothered. It defies all attempts at extinction, and breaking forth all the more eagerly for its long restraint, it declares itself in words that will not be weighed, that cannot be schooled, that should not be too severely criticized. Katisha, I dare not hope for your love, but I will not live without it. Darling!
You, whose hands still reek with the blood of my betrothed, dare to address words of passion to the woman you have so foully wronged?
I do. Accept my love, or I perish on the spot.
Go to, who knows so well as I that no one ever yet died of a broken heart.
You know not what you say. Listen. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang, "Willow, titwillow, titwillow." And I said to him, "Dicky bird, why do you sit singing willow, titwillow, titwillow?" "Is it weakness of intellect, birdie?" I cried, "or a rather tough worm in your little inside?" With a shake of his poor little head he replied, "Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow." He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, titwillow, titwillow, and a cold perspiration bespangled his brow, "Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow." He sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave, and an echo arose from the suicide's grave, "Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow." Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, titwillow, titwillow, that 'twas blighted affection that made him exclaim, "Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow." And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why, though I probably shall not exclaim as I die, "Oh, willow, titwillow, titwillow."
During this song, Katisha has been greatly affected, and at the end is almost in tears.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
All on account of a cruel little hen?
Yes.
Poor little chap.
It's an affecting tale, and quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
His devotion was something extraordinary.
Poor little chap. And if I refuse you, you will go and do the same?
At once.
No, you mustn't. Anything but that.
Falls on his breast.
Oh, I'm a silly little goose.
Coco, making a wry face.
You are.
And you won't hate me, because I'm just a little teeny-weeny wee bit bloodthirsty, will you?
Hate you? Oh, Katisha, is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness?
My idea exactly. There's a beauty in the bellow of the blast. There is grandeur in the growling of the gale. There is eloquent outpouring when the lion is a-roaring, and the tiger is a-lashing of his tail.
Yes, I like to see a tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when lashing of his tail.
Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dolts. But to him who's scientific, there's nothing that's terrific in the falling of a flight of thunderbolts.
Yes, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts.
If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go, and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done.
There is beauty in extreme old age. Do you fancy you are elderly enough? Information I'm requesting on a subject interesting. Is a maiden all the better when she's tough?
Throughout this wide dominion, it's the general opinion that she'll last a good deal longer when she's tough.
Are you old enough to marry, do you think? Won't you wait till you are 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic, in a ruin that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed?
To the matter that you mention, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed.
If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one.
Away we'll go, and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done.
Exeunt together. Flourish. Enter the Mikado, attended by Pish-Tush and court.
Now then, we've had a capital lunch, and we're quite ready. Have all the painful preparations been made?
Your Majesty, all is prepared.
Then produce the unfortunate gentleman and his two well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
Enter Koko, Katisha, Pooh-Bah, and Pitti-Sing. They throw themselves at the Mikado's feet.
Mercy! Mercy for Koko! Mercy for Pitti-Sing! Mercy even for Pooh-Bah!
I beg your pardon? I don't think I quite caught that remark.
Mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
Mercy. My husband that was to have been is dead, and I have just married this miserable object.
Oh, you've not been long about it.
We were married before the registrar.
I am the registrar.
I see. But my difficulty is that, as you have slain the heir apparent...
Enter Nanki-Poo and Yum-Yum. They kneel.
The heir apparent is not slain.
Bless my heart, my son.
And your daughter-in-law elected.
Katisha, seizing Koko.
Traitor! You have deceived me.
Yes, you are entitled to a little explanation, but I think that he will give it better whole than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it's like this. It is true that I stated that I had killed Nanki-Poo.
Yes, with most affecting particulars.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to a bald and...
Will you refrain from putting in your oar?
To Mikado.
It's like this. When your Majesty says, let a thing be done, it's as good as done. Practically, it is done, because your Majesty's will is law. Your Majesty says, kill a gentleman, and a gentleman is told off to be killed. Consequently, that gentleman is as good as dead. Practically, he is dead. And if he's dead, why not say so?
I see. Nothing could possibly be more satisfactory.
For he's gone and married Yum-Yum.
Yum-Yum.
Your anger pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come.
And join our expressions of glee.
On this subject I pray you be dumb.
Dum.
Your notions, though many, are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is mum.
Mum.
You've a very good bargain in me.
On this subject we pray you be dumb. We think you had better succumb. Come. You'll find there are many who'll wed for a penny. There are lots of good fish in the sea.
The threatened cloud has passed away, and brightly shines the dawning day.
But though the night may come too soon, we've years and years of afternoon.
Then let the throng our joy advance, with laughing song and merry dance. With joyous shout and ringing cheer, inaugurate our new career.
Curtain. End of the Mikado by W.S. Gilbert.